Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Exploring Cinema. I'm Nate.
And I'm Dylan.
And I'm Adam.
And today we are continuing our trend in January of diving into movies centered around child performances. And with that, we are talking about Where is the Friend's House, directed by Abbas Kiarostami from 1987, an Iranian movie. Adam, what is it about?
Where's the Friend's House? 8-year-old Ahmed has mistakenly taken his friend Mohammed's notebook. He wants to return it, or else his friend will be expelled from school. The boy determinedly sets out to find Mohammed's home in his neighboring village.
Yeah, it's an interesting, just kind of little, here's the problem, and they try to solve it, and that's it.
It's very straightforward.
Go. Be free, or attempt to, anyway. Also, an 83-minute movie, which was really interesting. It's streaming on Criterion right now, if anybody's interested in checking it out.
Mm-hmm.
And none of us had seen this, correct? I know we had discussed watching it many times, which I think was kind of the driving force on including it for January's movies.
Yep.
So none of us are very familiar. I had seen a couple movies from this director already. I had seen Close Up and Certified Copy, both of which I would say I liked, didn't love. So
interesting. Okay, you have seen Close Up. I was gonna.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a fascinating movie.
Okay.
So with that, at a glance, Where's the Friend's House? 1987 from Iran. Already mentioned the director. And this is going to be a really quick at a glance section because I couldn't really find anything for budget or box office on this.
Yeah.
Dylan, does that fit your criteria for being obscure enough?
Yeah, that's even better. That's even better than not making money. Is just there's no records existing of the financials. Good,
Perfect.
good.
The people who are in this
we do a
movie,
whole podcast of just movies that fit that criteria.
That would be. We could maybe fill a couple months with that potentially.
Yeah.
Only the people in the movie and the director know it was made.
Yeah. This is a very well-regarded movie, though. Accolades 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and an 8.1 on IMDb, and a 4.3 on Letterboxd. My page just refreshed itself automatically, so give me a second to.
It's a 4.4 now.
Yeah. I would say that tracks with kind of how I felt about it. So that's good news.
It's the number 91 movie of all time on Letterboxd, between Inglourious Bastards and All About Eve.
Okay.
Nice little trio of
I like
movies
that.
there.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So
does this make it? Maybe I should have asked this before we started recording. Does this make it the highest rated of the movies we've done? These child movies, as far as on the top 100.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's high. I know it's higher than
Paper Moon,
and I'm pretty positive that it's higher than Paper Moon as well.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
So before we get any further into our opening statements, want to ask everybody to like and subscribe, help the channel grow. Make sure you get notified every time we do one of these deep dives. We try to do about one a week here. They've been a lot of fun so far.
We hope themed now.
We're attempting to theme them. We're gonna probably start pretty soon with sort of a intro episode for the month, talking about the theme and what movies we picked and which ones we're excited to watch. So look out for that in February. But before we get there,
should we tell them the other thing we're all doing?
What are we all doing? Wearing hats?
Well, for each month, there's also going to be a color, and we're all going to paint the wall behind us that color. I know we weren't going to tell them that was going to be a surprise, but I'm just so excited.
Mine's a shade, so that'd be fun.
Color choice TBD.
Yeah.
Before we get to February, though, we do have one movie left after this in January, and that is going to be from the 1990s, Searching for Bobby Fischer from 1993, which is a personal favorite of mine. Dylan really enjoys as well. Adam has not seen yet, though, so we're really excited for Adam to see it, and for the three of us to dive into that movie. But that'll be next week. Back to Where is the Friend's House? Opening statements. Adam, it sounded like you were very positive on this. I'd like to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. A simple story of friendship and caring about your neighbor.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or other people. I mean, put that in whichever way you want. But yeah. That's it.
I like that. How about you, Nate? Oh,
we've lost Nate's audio, it seems.
Cannot hear you, Nate.
So that's fun. Dylan, why don't you do this while Nate?
I can take. Yeah, okay. Nate'll come back in a second. My opening statement: Where's the Friend's House? Lives up to the cliche of showing you the world through a child's eyes, which I have not seen maybe ever portrayed so well on screen. It's just a brilliant little slice of the human experience kind of movie.
100%.
Yeah, and that's really it's also so effective and so simple, and kind of the way like Ivan's childhood was a simple story, but there was still so much being packed in there with kind of like his psyche and the dreams that he's having and the flashbacks mixed with the terrible horrors of war. And this is simplicity, but like true simplicity. There's no baggage. It's really just, it's a kid who just wants to help out his friend. And he's like, I have to do this. I have to take my notebook to my friend's house. And I think I know where he lives. And he just goes for it. And I just felt like that worked so well. Like it felt like I could just kind of turn my brain off a little bit and just kind of like put myself in the kid's shoes and just kind of go along for the ride. Is that how you kind of felt?
For sure. It's very effective in that way. And I guess in contrast to Ivan's childhood, where you know that it's like granted, Ivan's a little bit older than our main character here.
A little,
but he's got more of like his own thoughts. I guess in a way, this one's more of like he's just reacting to the world around in the way only a child can. Only somebody that doesn't understand the other forces like in play.
Yes,
like it's just so innocent. It's just, well, I have to return this to my friend because otherwise he's screwed. Like,
yes,
and he's just so like there's nothing that can stop him in a way that because this movie doesn't use actors, these were all just like regular people that were in this town. In the way that this movie uses like regular people, you do get a true look into what like being a kid is like. It definitely brought me back, which I think is why I liked it so much. It's the only movie I've seen that I think has ever reminded me truly what I felt like when I was a kid.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. And Nate has returned.
Can you hear me?
We can.
I can hear you. You're a little blurry, but that's okay.
Yeah, well, we're up so we're just gonna have to deal.
You get one or you get the other.
No, me and Adam were having a fine time. You go back, you figure it out. No, but yeah, we were just talking about kind of comparing it to Ivan's childhood. How
I was listening. I was trying to find a good point to not interrupt.
Okay.
But then eventually I felt like, all right, I've been gone for a couple minutes now, and I can.
But yeah, it felt like with Ivan's childhood, it was about kind of the lost innocence and how he's kind of too mature and kind of like he's like into this whole war thing. It's more of a psychological study where I feel like this movie is just how most kids, it's just more, he's just a kid, he's just kind of an innocent, naive kid, and it's more relatable. So even though the plots are both kind of simple, this one, just the themes and just the character himself, everything about it, the fact that it's not taking place on the front lines during World War II makes kind of aids to the simplicity, and it just makes it kind of a very easily digestible, turn off your brain and just kind of enjoy it from our main character, from Ahmed's point of view. Nate?
Yeah, I really like that. Is it my turn now to speak?
Yeah, yes. I think I've done enough. So.
Yeah, so my opening statement was just basically that I want to be like Ahmed when I grow up.
Yeah.
I mean, watching that kid just refuse to be like denied and not be deterred in his quest to just give this kid his notebook back.
Yeah.
Lest he get expelled from school, something that none of the parents seem to really give a shit about.
No. Yeah, his mom's like, well, he deserves it.
Yeah.
Well, and Ahmed is just old enough to understand like the implications of what that means. Like he doesn't really do it because like he's super worried about his friend, but like he's just old enough to have like that emotion. He doesn't really like, in comparison to Ivan's childhood, like Ivan's just older and he just has a different lens. Like Ahmed's truly like a child. He's not old enough to understand like the stakes at play besides like expulsion is bad. Like when he goes to try to find his friend's house in a neighborhood away, like he crosses like a giant hill and assumedly like a long distance.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't know that there's like it's gonna get dark and it's gonna be dangerous to walk that road and all that kind of stuff. He just wants to complete his task. He just cares about his friend.
Okay, I'm gonna try to fix these camera issues. I'll be back. You guys want to start talking about defining moments?
Sure.
Yes.
I'm just gonna keep popping in to change the categories, and then I'll leave again and let you guys get to it.
Okay, cool. All right, so defining moments. I'll start here.
Yeah, you go.
So the first one for me was that long scene with his mom, where he's trying to say, "Hey, this is the situation. I need to return this notebook," and she's just like trying to do her daily chores, and it's just like, "Do your homework, and like you can play when you're done, and just like stop bugging me, like just do your homework," and just the way he repeated himself over and over and over again. When I was reading the Letterboxd reviews, it seems like some people that really rubbed them the wrong way, but I think it fits with the theme and there's a point to it. It's all about the communication between across generations and kind of the communication breakdown. And so his repetition in that scene, then later we see an adult man try to, I think was it sell a guy some new doors. And he just does the same thing, repetition, pestering. And it's just like you see other adult characters do that same behavior. So I thought it all had a theme, but just the way, the way that whole thing played out, just the look on his face, how serious you can tell it is to him and how not even on the radar it is to his mom. And then just kind of that naivete, to your point, when he finally decides, like, screw it. Like, she thinks, I have an opportunity here to go get bread. I'll just real quick go return the notebook and then I'll get bread and no one will ever know. And he just goes for it. Such a classic, like, child, like, naive kid moment. I love
How
that.
good did you guys feel when she said, "Go get bread"?
Just like,
yes, this is your out.
I was like, oh, he's totally gonna. I was like, he got so lucky instead of having to do homework for an hour or whatever.
When he grabs the notebook and puts it under his shirt, I was like, let's go. Like, get out of there. Like, don't get caught.
Putting the notebook under his shirt and then stopping and double checking and being like, wait, I got the wrong one again.
Yes. Yeah.
Going back and then putting the notebook back under his shirt. I thought that was great.
Yeah, that was great. So I'll just keep going through my defining moments now that you're back. So that long scene with his mom and then eventual decision to go. I love the chase scene when he thinks it's he hears the guy called Mr. Namitsada or whatever. So he's like, oh, that must be his dad. And he like follows him, but he's just far enough ahead of him and he's on that donkey. So he can't really ever fully catch up to him. Just the suspense of that scene. Like it was like a little like action movie almost.
Yeah.
But it's just a kid trying to chase down this adult to be like, hey, are you this kid's dad? Like, but it was just like, oh my God. And then of course, like he finally gets there and then it's like, oh, he lost him. Like, oh my God, he lost him. And now he's lost. But then he finds him. And then the best part, when he finally gets there and they draw it out with the kid holding the door, blocking his face.
Yeah.
That was brilliant. I was like,
same color pants. Like,
all of that. Guys just toying with us. Like this whole movie has built up to this massive moment. And all it is it's just like, is this the kid's dad or not? Like, have we found it? Love that. And then finally, I really liked the bakery question after it gets dark and he's walking back with that guy. And he's like, oh, I need to get bread still. Like, do you think the bakery's open? And the guy's just like, the bakery's like, no. And just
no one's making bread now.
Like the kid, that was incredible acting. Just the look on his face of just the realization, the despair, thinking of every decision he made and like how he got in, how much trouble he's going to be in. Like, oh my God, I've been there. And then I think I'm sure we all have that incredible ending.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah, just the whole way that it worked. The flower in the notebook was just a beautiful touch. And just kind of, it sort of hit me. I don't know if it hit you guys, like the scene before at night. And then you're like, okay, is he just going to like do the kid's homework? Because that seems to be the only solution at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not in school. And like the director's just so good at dragging this out, even though it's like 83 minutes. And it's such a simple thing, but like the suspense of it comes down to the last like minute of the movie.
Yeah.
Whether or not he's going to be able to effectively like save this kid from getting expelled. And kind of the solution for it. It's all just so simple, but it's just such a beautiful movie and a beautiful ending.
And
I loved it.
I think that's the way that like a kid would look at that problem. Like the way you view this movie is the way he's viewing like how important it is to him that he fixed this. It's not necessarily his fault, but he's in it and it's the most important thing to him. So this should be the most important thing that you care about in the movie, in the way that like, drawing that out makes you have that realization like, God, this is actually tense and it matters this much to this kid. Like how you feel right now is how he feels. And I felt
like
really
almost
fun.
The level of intensity is when Frodo's hanging on the edge of Mount Doom.
Yeah.
The way he builds that up, I think it's just fantastic.
No, I felt like the setup it was just all so relatable. And it was a way to take a moment where most, if not all kids have been, and elevate it to the climactic scene of this movie. Just like the experience of his friend just sitting there realizing doesn't have his notebook again, going to get in so much trouble. And he's just sitting there with his head down. And the only thing that's saving him is that the teacher has chosen to start at the back of the class instead of the front of the class, which I thought was also a great touch. Because when you are that age, you notice things like that.
Yep.
And if you are up to no good or in trouble or didn't do your homework, you do notice like, oh, the teacher started way over there. I've got like 5 more minutes. The teacher started on my row. I have no chance.
Yeah, I can't even work on it. Like she'll see it and be like, "Well, I'm
like, so that for that to kind of be the ending of this movie, they use that, and then just when he walks in and you just see this moment of friendship and just kind of like what I felt like is like his friend is going to remember that for the rest of his life. Like, this notebook quest, which no adult seems to care about, and even we think is kind of trivial, but isn't it kind of cute how the kid is into it? Then you see what it means to his friend, like truly. And I just thought that was beautiful. And then, the flower in the notebook and then boom, out like, oh, fantastic ending. So those are my moments. How about you, Adam?
I only had a few to go off of those, obviously, because the end was great. I had the initial like getting yelled at by the teacher. And then getting yelled, like basically every scene where an adult is, every scene where an adult is yelling at him, the teacher yelling at them and just being so like unfair in such a brutal way that's like, it doesn't really matter. He's just yelling at him, but he's being like, he's not listening to the kids at all. Don't speak unless you're spoken to. Like, you obey me and my rules are absolute. Like there is no questioning it. And then the way he like argues with his mom, like you said, he argues with his grandfather yells at him. And then when he's ignored by like the businessman right away, like the businessman wants that notebook for just a piece of paper and he doesn't have the ability to say no. It's just adults ruling his life in every facet, whether he knows them or not.
And then ignoring him completely.
Yeah, because it's the communication thing, like you were saying in the scene with his mom. They're speaking the same language, but they're not listening to each other. What is so trivial for her is the biggest thing in his life at the moment. Like, so that was the big one I had, and then I kind of liked when the old man brings him to the same house that he was at, and he realizes that it wasn't it.
Yeah,
it's like that's just so endemic of kind of the entire movie, and like just the kind of disappointment you can sometimes experience in life is just like, I thought I had the thing, I was so close, and then it was just another letdown. And I really enjoyed that moment because that's not the climax, but it can kind of feel like it a little bit.
I also think that was one of the houses that he checked already.
Yeah, it was. It was.
That's why he knew right away, because he never like went and knocked on the door.
It was the businessman's house because the same donkey was outside.
Yeah, because he was just like, "Oh, I know this isn't it," and this guy thinks it is, and he's being nice, but this doesn't help.
Yep. Yeah. So then, like, go finish out the night, walk home, get home safe, and then just figure out a new solution. And that's what happens. You have to bounce around and jump to different solutions of your problems when you aren't able to solve them on your first try. So I really enjoyed that. I thought that a lot of that was a big learning moment for Ahmed and stuff. So those are mine.
Yeah, just to add to that, I had just the first, I guess kind of every time, but like watching him zigzag up that hill is so visually, it's so striking visually. And I love the setting of it with just the one tree on top. And he's got it just fits very well with how he kind of needs to navigate this world And every time he wants to kind of give it a try, he's got to zigzag up or down the hill.
It reminded me of Studio Ghibli, to be honest.
Oh yeah,
this feels a lot like this could have been a Ghibli movie. Yeah. And I say that as like the highest compliment I can possibly give. I think we and then there was one other that I just thought was really funny when he's just trying to explain to that woman that doesn't want to talk to him, who says she's sick.
Yeah.
Like, the pants, they're brown. And she's like, I'm a sick little boy. I don't. He's like, the pants are brown. Are they not his? Or like, well, she's like, yeah. He's like, but the pants are brown.
And then he gets her to come out, even though she's sick.
Yeah,
to hobble out to look at these pants to be like, whose pants?
And then they get taken away as he's showing her, and it's like,
you never see that lady again either. Like he just sees the pants being taken down and he runs away, and I think
he just walks away.
She just ducks back inside. Okay, on to questions. I didn't really have one that I settled on for this. Because a lot of things that I like questions I started posing, I just kind of threw into like observations and musings.
Yeah.
But I guess I had this thought while I was watching it, and I don't want to ruin too much of this because we're doing it next week. But Dylan, since you've seen it, were there elements of this that reminded you of Searching for Bobby Fischer? Yeah. Because I felt like kind of the adults trying to control everything, and this kid just kind of trying to like be nice. Those themes felt very strong for me in both movies. I'm curious if they did for you as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. For sure. I think, and for my questions, I guess my only one that I had for sure was, how did you feel about the grandpa monologue kind of moment where it just kind of we were following Ahmed for 95% of this movie. Other 5% is we get these two old men talking about discipline and this generation. And how did you feel about that?
Yeah. I mean, that I had this in my observations and musings, but I can just kind of expand on it now. I think the scene works. I think these themes are explored without kind of almost the like turn and look at the camera and saying this is part of what this movie is about element of that monologue. So I don't think it needed to be like quite as long as it was. But something I noticed in the movie was kind of the nature of repetition in the way that people do things, or the way that they speak, or like try to get what they want. The way the teacher kind of like, I told you 3 times already, and now we're going to go through it again. And the way that the kid, is it Ahmed?
Yeah,
Ahmed.
Yeah. The way that he has to keep repeating himself to the adults. Like it kind of goes back to that scene I was mentioning, like the brown pants. Or like, he has to say his friend's name like 5 times to some people before they answer him.
Yeah.
And how every time the adults start repeating things, it's about like discipline and kind of like an authoritarian view on the world, and or what somebody else can give them. Like the guy just saying like, let me build you a door, let me build you a door, let me build you a door. And he's just like poking people to like basically give him money.
Yeah.
And this kid just has to constantly like nag at these people when he's trying to be nice.
Yeah.
And I thought the contrast there, but the way that the director uses it, where they're acting out their beliefs in kind of the exact same way, but their beliefs are like 180 degrees away from each other.
Yeah. And I guess I also thought just with that monologue that it's kind of about like how that communication style or those communication breakdowns kind of get passed down. It's kind of a cyclical thing, it's when you're the kid who constantly has to repeat himself because no adult will listen to you. You grow up to be the guy who constantly repeats himself when he's trying to sell a door, or constantly, that something along those lines. I just felt like, because you get the grandpa definitely wanted to keep the old ways going, and the old ways are best. And that kid would be better off if he had more discipline, kind of thing. It was just interesting. It was very, kind of a meditative little moment. And then it was back to following Ahmed around for the rest of the movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's just another conversation of another adult trying to control his life and just really not understanding at all what it's like to be a child and why things are so different. And so it's him just being like, just beat him. Like he'll fall in line. He'll figure it out. Like also, kids don't want to get beat. It's like, it's just such a different perspective.
Also, I think there's only a couple times in the movie where this happens, but Ahmed, I think it's his grandpa, when his grandpa pulls him aside and he's like, go find my cigarettes. And Ahmed's like, seriously, I'm late. I need to go. Like, I can't. And he's like, no, find my cigarettes. And Ahmed gives him this side eye look that literally had me laughing out loud as he like walks away, because so much of Ahmed's portrayal is kind of this like wide-eyed, childish naivete, but then like a couple times in the movie he gives an adult a look that's just like, oh my god, dude. Like he's like a look that like a 35-year-old would give.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, right now
I think that really goes to this kid's performance, and also how his face just kind of looks a little older than he really is.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of the face of a kid who you can just instantly picture what he's going to look like as an adult.
Yes. That's a good way to put that. Yeah.
Combined with he's still very small, like stature wise.
Yeah.
Like when he's running and when he's doing these things and when he's standing next to people, he is clearly a small young child.
Yeah, he's like 6'6" tops.
He's 7 or 8, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, but
he's young.
He's young, but he has a face that, to your point, every once in a while he'll have an expression that's like a 35-year-old's expression.
Yeah.
That's got to be like the fun of like when you have your own children. It's like seeing that stuff and being like, oh, that's part of your personality peeking through. Like, got it. Like, that's what makes this movie, I think, so relatable. And so like you can see yourself. It's like it reminds you of what you felt when you were a child. Because you're like, oh, yeah, I remember being a little shit. Like, I remember like trying to get my way. I remember trying to convince people that things. It works so well because of things like that.
That was my other question, and if it's going to get us too sidetracked, we don't need to. But I was going to ask if there was a moment of your childhood that this movie kind of reminded you of. That there was, because I felt like throughout the movie, that's just the portrayal of Through a Child's Eye. There was a lot of little moments, kind of the naivete when you know you're in trouble, right? Like it definitely there was a lot. But is there just one in particular that this movie kind of brought back to you?
Nothing I can think of right now, really. I'm sure there are.
I feel like it was kind of tough for us because growing up in, suburban America, we aren't usually, allowed to just walk to the next village when we're 8 years old. Like,
yeah.
But, yeah. If you can't think of anything, that's fine. But I felt like throughout it was just kind of like, maybe not specific moment, but it gave me just that feeling. It just brought up this nostalgic little kid kind of emotional.
Like I got that feeling too. I just can't assign that to a specific moment right now.
But like I can like in my mind's eye, I can basically see like I have that memory or like the general memory of being short and like shorter than the counter and like being like, walking around and being like, I need your help. I need attention. I need stuff from you. And you're just bigger than I am. And how do I do this? Like, what, you know what I mean? Like I have small problems that are clearly small potatoes to you, but like my car lost its wheel or something like that. Like, how can you help me? I need your attention.
Yeah. I will say I really related to how it's sort of later in the movie, kind of when he realizes that like, he can't find this kid kind of between like when it's dark, he's walking back with the old man. And then when he's at home at night and he doesn't want to eat dinner. And it's just like everything the kid can do to not cry. Because he's put so much effort into this, and the moment has become like too big for him. And then it's just such a nice moment to learn that he kind of found another way to do it. And the moment wasn't too big, but you can see it like the kid is just so good. You can see it pressing on him as it goes along when he's starting to, because like you said, he thinks he's just going to run over there, find the kid's house, get some bread, run back, and if they ask about how long it was, he can be like, there was a line.
Yep. Totally foolproof plan.
Exactly. And he never finds the kid's house. And he spends like probably like 5 or 6 hours trying to find it. And he finds another solution and he doesn't break. And it's very inspiring to watch him just kind of persevere through it all.
Yeah. In my scenes, I actually have written down when he does the homework after eating. Like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, that was very nice.
That whole scene, like you're saying, is just you can see it. Like he's hunched up with his knees up, like sitting on the ground, just like clearly hating that he failed. Yeah.
I love that. I love too the walk back with the old man, because he's torn between. He's so dejected and so depressed that he knows he's failed. He knows he's going to get in trouble, and he really wants to get home, but he also wants to be nice, and he's trying to wait for that old man. And it's just like this total like little kid like dilemma of just like
I will say I felt that dog barking because we had a scary dog in my neighborhood growing up.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, his name was Kilo.
Oh,
Okay.
dog name.
I see why you guys couldn't walk to the next town over. Like,
Kilo.
Yeah, and it was a Rottweiler.
that'll do it.
Nice.
It was a very scary dog, and yeah, there were times when, like, if you walked past their house, he'd be chained up, but he'd like sprint at you and leap until he got off his chain once and like chased me in my yard.
Well, and when you're small,
yeah, I ran back inside as fast as I possibly could.
Yeah, like,
so
if you're not like 18, a big dog will be scary regardless. Like, that's just primal. Like,
yeah,
for sure. All right.
On to observations and musings.
Yes.
I kind of already hit one, but I did notice. Did his mom actually care if he did his homework? It felt at a certain point like it was more about him just doing what she told him to do. Because she'd say, do your homework, and then he'd finally start, and like 18 seconds later, she's like, go move the baby, or go get this, go get the laundry for me, which is like 7 feet away from me.
Yeah. Or like, go talk to your grandmother upstairs for something. It was
go
like,
get hot water.
Was I not? Was I not?
It was more just an exercise in him obeying, it felt like, which really fits with kind of the themes of this movie.
Yeah.
And then this movie, so I also already mentioned Searching for Bobby Fischer. From like a kindness perspective, I thought a lot about the Paddington movies during this movie.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And then for this would be a tonal 180 for a double feature, but from like a perspective of adults failing the kids around them.
Yeah.
You could pair this with Let the Right One In.
Ooh. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good.
Yeah.
I know Adam doesn't like Let the Right One In.
No, I didn't. Yeah, I don't love it like you guys do. I like it. I really like it. I really like it. I just like, obviously this is one of the movies that like had a little bit more hype than I thought, and I wasn't sure how to handle it, but I really enjoyed that movie. But I wasn't gonna say it's been a bit of a stretch, but yeah, that's I can agree. I can see that. I can see that angle. I think that would work.
Mm-hmm. We've already touched on most of the things I was going to say, other than in the Letterboxd reviews, someone used the term soul-soothing simplicity to describe this movie. I think that's really spot on.
That goes down nicely too.
It is soul-soothing. It's kind of just and then the other thing is none of the characters. I like how none of the characters are good or bad. They're all kind of just real people, and even the adults, even though they're not listening to him, they're not really giving him the time of day. The movie isn't condemning them. They're just adults. They're in their own world, and they just don't, I mean, the lesson is that we should probably listen to children more and have a little more empathy for their point of view. But I felt like the movie never was just like there's no villain. I mean, even the teacher, like he's kind of a strict teacher, but I wouldn't say he's a bad guy. Who knows if he really would have expelled that kid or not, just for the notebook, or, might have just been talking about it. And he kind of sits down. He tries to be like, hey, I'm trying to do this so you can show discipline. I don't know. I just felt like the movie stayed very real and realistic and never became like, over the top or just kind of like a kid's movie. If this same story was told in a kid's movie, there'd be the teacher would be a really bad guy, and then there'd be this really bad guy or creepy. But everyone was just like, it was just kind of human, just everyone in this village living their life. And it just happens that, because he's a kid, no one wants to listen to him. He just wants to do something nice, for God's sakes.
Well, and we haven't even talked about like the setting here. I think like the reason everybody is so maybe adamant that you do things this way or order and discipline matter is because like it's clearly a very poor area in a country in Iran that just like there's not a lot going on. There's hardly electricity. There's barely running water. Like that's such a harder life than any of us can imagine. That like sometimes you do have to just adhere to the rules just to get by, just because you do not have the mental capacity to deal with more stress, with more things, with more what you want. It doesn't matter what you want. You have to survive. So I think that's a really good point, Dylan. I think that like because it's so simple, like we get lost in all that.
Yeah, I like that too.
All right.
Anything else, or is it tidbit time?
Tidbit time.
I'd say the only thing I'd say is again, we already touched on is like this is the movie I think that that somehow transported me back to what it was like to feel like how I felt as a kid, and I think that's the most important. part about this. But on to tidbits. There are not many. As you know, in the theme of there's no budget information, that kind of stuff. So there are 2 documentaries by this director that made this movie about making this film in the aftermath of an earthquake that happened. The first, I believe, Nate, I believe you looked this up too. The first documentary goes through the earthquake, and I believe they say that the boy died, the guy who plays Ahmed, and then they go back and they they change that because he's not dead.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, he didn't die in an earthquake a little bit after the movie was filmed. Nate,
people did die, and then
a lot of people did, but
a lot of people died. I think like 50,000 people or something like that.
Yeah, something insane. So one of the documentaries is about the earthquake. I think they both are sort of about the actors in the movie, but
the first one, called Life and Nothing More,
there we go.
Is about like the director return. It's a sort of movie where they're like actors who play the director and like his kid, and they're returning to the village where the movie was filmed to like check up on the actors to see like who's still alive, how recovery is going, that kind of thing. And then the second one that's made is called it's got the word olive in it, Through the Olive Trees, and that is about the actors who played them in the sort of like quasi documentary. It's all like super kind of meta and like layering itself.
Gotcha.
They're all for sale like as a trilogy at Criterion called the Coker trilogy.
Yeah,
named after the town.
That's cool.
I should probably check those out just because this was fantastic, and I don't feel like there's any way those aren't going to be good.
Yeah, right. Same. I want to check those out.
Right. The only other real tidbit, because some stuff that's on here is stuff that you mentioned. Official top 250 narrative feature films on Letterboxd, 94 ranked the number 94 non-English speaking film in the critics poll conducted by the BBC in 2018. So only a couple years ago. I think you said that it's the number 91 movie
on Letterboxd.
Yeah. Okay. So stuff like that. But then the other one was this film is shot in Persian. However, the dialogues between the door maker and the stubborn elderly villager who refuses to get a new door are in Turkish, which is presumably Azerbaijani Turkish, as this is in Iran. So a lot of different dialects, I suppose, going on. But there's not much else about this movie. I mean, these are all real people in this movie. They weren't actors, so makes it interesting. Go ahead.
Yeah.
The kid who played Ahmed and the kid who played Muhammad, or the friend.
Yeah.
Those two were brothers in real life.
Oh. That's interesting. That's neat.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that the little touch of them having in the beginning in that first scene, the one has like the red vest and the other has the green vest, and they're kind of dressed similarly, but like red and green, almost like Mario Luigi kind of like it was just a good pairing.
All right.
Yeah, little known fact, Mario and Luigi, huge influence on this movie.
On Where is the Friend's House?
Yeah. You heard it here first.
Crazy big in Iran. Crazy.
Yeah. All right, Adam. I believe it is time for the moment that we've all been waiting for.
Ba-boom!
It is time for us to award the McCabe Coat of Excellence. We are big fans of McCabe and Mrs. Miller here at this show, particularly McCabe's coat. Mm-hmm. And so at the end of each episode, we like to give out a coat to somebody involved with the movie who we believe exhibited excellence, kind of like a green jacket at the Masters. We can each give out a coat. We don't have to give one out if we don't think anybody earned it. And again, like every single one of these movies we've done this month, I've liked, and it's come down to the director or the kid.
Yep.
Pretty much. Mm-hmm. Every single time. And I believe I went with the kid the first 2 times.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I think I'm just going to go with the kid again.
Yeah. Yeah.
This kid's performance is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I mean, and the director too. I mean, they're sharing it. It's a big coat. They can probably both fit in it at the same time.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, I got to split this between the two of them because it's just beautifully made, and it doesn't work if this kid isn't up to the challenge. So, I know it's a little bit of a cop out, but they both deserve it.
Yeah. Dylan, what about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna do basically the same thing. I'm splitting it between the director Abbas Kiarostami and the lead Babek Ahmed Pour. Just yeah, it wouldn't have worked if both of them hadn't been operating just at the absolute highest level. And yeah, just kudos to both of them. And I'd recommend because of their performance and the directing. I feel like this movie is very accessible. I'd recommend it to almost anybody. You know, I mean, even if you're someone who doesn't really like subtitles, like there isn't a ton of dialogue. It's not even dialogue heavy. It's just so easy to just digest and relate to.
It's short, and it's a universal experience for sure. I'm gonna cop out and do the same thing because somebody had to have the vision. Somebody had to have the vision, and somebody had to portray it, and they both absolutely knocked it out of the park. And there's nothing better than these two in a combo. Great directing, great performance.
The look on their faces when they get 3 half coats, half fur coats in the mail at Amazon.
When they have to stitch all 3 together instead of getting 2 regular coats and then an extra third coat.
I will say, Adam, the main kid is listed as being in the 2 follow-up movies.
Okay. The documentaries.
I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know if he died during the earthquake. That I probably not then.
So in the
unless there's like flashback material and they show clips from the movie from like Where's the Friend's House or something. I'm not really sure.
No, it does say that Babek Ahmed Pour, who starred as Ahmed, apparently did not die in the 1990 earthquake, as Robert Osborne said. He had movies afterwards, per the TCM showing of The Story of Film and Odyssey. So it was confirmed in the documentaries that he didn't die. I believe it's the second one.
Okay, they thought he did though.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
interesting.
He did. Definitely gonna have to watch these now.
Yeah,
for sure.
All right, closing statements. For me, I just love this movie. This is one of the best movies I've seen in a really long time, I think.
Yeah.
Debuted for me at number 116 on my list.
Nice.
Right between Coraline and Back to the Future.
As God intended.
Yeah, nice. But I love this movie. I would absolutely watch it again. And like you said, I'd pretty much recommend this to everybody.
Dylan?
Yeah, same. Similar to one of my favorites, which I made you two watch, Old Joy, which is about kind of how aging and time affects friendships. I feel like it portrays an emotion that I experience and have experienced, but rarely see on screen in such a convincing way. And I just felt like it was fantastic. And kind of, I feel like it should maybe be almost like required viewing for parents or people who work with kids, just to remind us that like there's going to be communication breakdowns, but a little bit of empathy, a little bit of seeing it from their point of view goes a long way. You know, I mean, any one of these adults along the way could have kind of been like, hey, I'll help you do this, or, you know, something. And they would have been quick. His mom could have helped him. It could have been a 20-minute or so, you know, a little trip. They go and they had, you know, so I don't know. It just like, I feel like it's just a reminder, like, you know, kind of to listen to the kids sometimes, you know, and see it from their point of view. And it just feels like a very timeless kind of, like I mentioned in my opening statement, kind of just a little slice of the human experience. That's kind of what it feels like to me.
For sure. I think I've basically already said probably a couple times how I feel about this movie. That my closing statements is this is the best portrayal of what it's like to be a child. It just teleports you back to how you feel and how you felt and what it was like. And there's no other movie that I think that has done that for me. So this is incredible. Share it with everybody you can. I think watching it alone, maybe that's just as a guy, I think was a very powerful experience.
Yeah.
But like show that to a friend, show that to a girlfriend or a boyfriend or just your buds. Like that's it's really solid. If you can get somebody to sit down and watch a foreign movie with subtitles that was made in the 80s, like this is a good one to do.
For sure. It's not that long, simple, really relatable, and just fantastic.
Yeah, no one's gonna walk away from this movie and be like, well, that sucked. Like, oh, maybe it wasn't for me. It's like, this is an incredible movie. You're gonna like it. Like it's it is.
Maybe if there's someone, you know, everyone knows a few people who just really don't kind of like kids. They find kids annoying. They might not like this movie because like, of the repetition.
Best scene was that scene with the grandpa.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
What
They'll relate to that. They'll be like, "Thank you. That was worth the whole thing."
What a stupid question. Who cares about your friends? Just work harder and take his spot and like
deserve to be expelled.
Make his money.
And also, very last point, and then I'll get to the quote. I thought it was interesting how he could have really from the beginning just planned on meeting him before class and doing I like how it was kind of like it was such a childlike thing where it's like he went to so much effort. He went to this monument. He tried to move heaven and earth, for a kid to get this notebook back. And then like, oh wait, or I could do it this way.
Yeah.
And and he did. And it was great.
Couple people say that. They're like, why don't you just give it back to him at school? And he's like, no, but like he's got to do his homework. And like, I have it. And they're like, but just don't. Like, what if you did?
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Yeah. All right. Is there anything else anyone wants to say, or is it my turn to put a wrap on the show?
Take it away.
All right. Take this flower and put it in your notebook.